on Soch ki ttalk, train of thought, with a series of an episode with Dr. Sequeira. Dr. Sequeira is a CEO of Head and Neck Cancer Institute of India, and he has been a vice president in HR and admin with Kokila Dhirubhai Ambani Hospital, and he was a director with HR Hinduja Hospital. Sir, welcome back to ttalk on Soch ki.
Thank you, sir.
Now, in fact, it's a special episode where key learning from your journey, like which you are going to accept for the target audience. Like now, for benefit of the target audience, can you throw some light on the house, home, company, and the organizations? Your life lesson from this.
Okay, I'll actually. First of all, thank you for having me. I'll begin around 50 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
I was born to a lower middle class family, actually a poor family. We lived in a very small house in Dadar. Myself, my mother, who was a teacher, my dad, who was an electrician, and of course after that, 6 years after I was born, my sister was born. It was a very, very small house. Most of the times we ate very absolute simple food. I still remember we used to go once in a week to a restaurant. My mother used to have medu vada and I used to have masala dosa. It still continues to remain one of my favorite dishes.
Yeah.
But at no point of time, at that point of time, we ever felt that there was shortage of money or we felt any need. And that was probably, sir, because the place where we lived was not a house, it was a home.
Nice.
When I reflect upon this today, I realize that this is so true, you know. I mean, just like your home is a home wherever you are from. You may live in a 5-star hotel and you're so eager to come back and rest at your place, where you're so comfortable. It's not because of the air condition or the fan or the position or the floor. It's because of the people that are there around. And the same concept is applicable to organizations. Mm-hmm. You like going to work not necessarily because of the great tag that your organization gives. You like going to work because of the people. You like going to work because there is someone out there who appreciates you. You like going to work because there are your colleagues who you're going to have some fun with. Mm-hmm. There are people there to support you. And I think that is a very, very important founding concept of social psychology that we talk about. As time went by, and I went to a school called Don Bosco High School, and you know, when you are a young kid, you go to school because you're told to go to school. You really don't know the value of education. You're always cribbing about the homework that the teachers are giving you, and you go through the rigmarole. It's only later in your life you realize the value of education. And I'm very, very fortunate that my parents put me up to a school which was one of the best schools. This is one of the best schools. I learned a lot of social skills in schools. And I think that whatever I've achieved today, a huge chunk of it goes to the education. There are a lot of people who tell you that, you know, education has its limitations, education, you know. I think that education is one of the most important things for people to actually fall back upon and to look forward to. One, many a times does not understand the value of education. It continues to support you throughout your entire life, and that is what has happened to me. I was very, very fond of my mother. I was very close to my mother. I was around her all the time. My mother was, a very, very strict disciplinarian. She was a perfect example of what tough love has to be. She loved me a lot, but she was very, very strict when it comes to discipline. So I was supposed to come back and do my homework. I was supposed to do my homework. There was no compromise on that. And it is now that I realize how important as leaders we need to show tough love to our subordinates. You know, when you work in organizations, you work with a team of people, it's very naturally for you to like people, be fond of people, etc. But your focus for completion of work has always to be there. People who work with you should always realize that if you do not work according to the standards set by the boss or by the organization, they will be pulled up for it. Otherwise, what happens, human beings have all children in them. They will actually be complacent over a period of time. Suppose, there is a Dr. Shima who's very nice to his subordinates all the time. And the subordinate comes and says, sir, आपने मेरे को ये काम दिया था, मैंने वो किया नहीं. आप बोले, ठीक है बेटा, no problem, आराम से कर लेना. I can assure you, sir, I'm sure you know this. वो काम कभी आपका होगा नहीं.
नहीं होगा.
Right. The first day, Ram will do it. Then second day, Sham will also do it. Third day, Lakshman will do it. And after some point of time, you will not be able to complete the work. It's similarly like a mother, the child does not study. The father will pull up the mother and say, what are you doing? The kid is not studying. So I think tough love that was taught to me by my mother is very, very important. And I implement that even today when I deal with my subordinates. When we grow up and as you grow up, you become a teenager, and I went to an all-boys school, so it's so chaotic. There are many times that, there is a tendency for you to waver and lose focus on the path that you're on. One very important lesson in my life I have learned is that it is okay to lose your way sometimes, sir, as long as you know the way back onto the road.
Right.
Many people lose their way permanently because they veer off the road and they do not know how to come back to the road. I've had my own sets of moving away from the road, my own sets of distractions, my own sets of issues when growing up, adolescence, friends, and all these things. The rebel that comes into you when you're a teenager. But I was very lucky and I was very blessed that every time I moved away, I knew to come the way back.
Were you comparing yourself with somebody else, like while being on that path, like? Oh, he's like smart, he's looking tough, he's having more intelligence.
Yes.
So was those comparison coming in your mind?
Yes. I used to always look at, my seniors who were probably taller than me. I used to always look at people who used to come on stages and give these amazing debates. And I used to ever wonder, whether I will ever be like that. But very fortunately for me, I continued to put my head down and just continued to do what I was supposed to do and, waited for it till my time came. And your role models in life, sir, you don't have to necessarily mimic your role models.
Right.
You have to aspire to be like them and you have to continue to work because nobody became a role model without doing work. Whether he's an actor or whether he's a singer or whether he's a great, corporate head honcho. You have to continue doing your hard work. And when I was growing up, most of my role models were, my seniors and some people who are very good at what they do.
And what do you think about an education? Like, is that education you've done via graduation, is it important, or else you need to go further in terms of an higher study, or even like if you're having a common sense, you can have a great enterprise like?
Very, 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 very good question. Sir, I think, common sense definitely is a basis for our life, right? If you do not have common sense, everything else just falls apart. But many a times, I don't know whether it is the irrelevance of an education system or whether it is the people have not understood the tangible value of an education system. People many a times undermine the value of education. Let me tell you what I think. I think that education not only gives you knowledge, it also creates certain specific skills for you to understand people, to work with people, and then, develop things on your own.
Right.
Many a times people have this criticism that हमारे education system में जो हम पढ़ाते हैं वो कहीं use नहीं होता. I do not necessarily agree with that. I think that though many of those things could be irrelevant, education by itself has a very important role for you to play because it changes your way of thinking. And it actually seasons you to think in a particular way. So, it's like saying, why are you studying history?
Right.
Because history is something which is past, it may not be relevant at all. right? What Hitler did or what Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj did could not be. But it teaches you what, though it is not relevant today, you may say that. That is that I don't believe that. Many critics say that. I think that it teaches you what people did. It teaches you how people behave. It teaches you the mistakes that people did, which need not be reported. It teaches you about your culture, your heritage, and what your forefathers were doing at one point.
Right.
So I definitely believe that formal as well as informal education is equally important. Education also teaches you social skills.
Right.
When a child goes to school, and that has always been my worry about the COVID scenario. It picks up important social skills. He doesn't have his parents to stand up for him. He knows he has got to know how to go to talk, deal with people. If he's got to fight with his colleagues, how to fight, how to get beaten, how to sort it out, he learns on his own.
Correct.
So education has got immense amount of value, even formal as well as informal education.
We started with some of an extract of a life lesson from Dr. Neil Sequeira, where he did highlight it in terms of an house and the home and correlating with the company and the organization, and also the importance of an education in today's scenario, and also touched upon the mother love, like it needs to be tough at the initial stage, and also he did spoke in terms of always lose your way as long as you can come back. Like it's a 4 lesson which I'm sure can transform somebody else's life, and it's a great extract and the learning from Dr. Neil Sequeira. I think there's a more lesson. We are talking in terms of 3 decades of his corporate experience. Like I'm sure there's a lot to extract from this conversation. So thanks a lot
Thank you very much,
for being part of Tea Talk for the first lesson of your journey. Thank you very much.